Hi, welcome to week two's lecture. This week we're going to talk about genres and formats and understanding your audience and interview skills. So at this point, you should start thinking about a topic. And this week is really going to be about you identifying like your overall like layout. What's the genre? What's the format? Who's your audience? And defining those folks. So, what is your topic? Is it a topic that you can dive into deeply, that you can go on for multiple episodes about? When we think about podcasting, like we talked about in the first week, it's really something that you really want the listener to really dive into and listen to for several episodes and to still be engaged throughout every single episode. And part of that really is the way you tell the story, but you actually have to pick a topic that you're interested in diving that deeply into. So before you pick a topic, really think about that. What are you interested in that you could really dive deeply into and that you'd have enough content to span a whole entire season? So once you've picked that, what format would it work best in? In the reading, you'll see that there's a genre and format reading, and the most like popular formats are the one-on-one interview. And that's you and someone else going back and forth. That could be, all episodes of your podcast could be you interviewing folks about your topic. The other one is a solo commentary, so that's just you talking about the topic. So when you think about this, you really have to be cautious of this one because it's just like these lecture videos, it's me talking, right? And I'm trying to keep these short, so I'm doing 8 minutes. And when we think about a podcast, it's got to be a little longer, right? It's going to be an actual episode. And so when it becomes solo commentary, you want to make sure that you're maybe splicing in some sound bites of background noise or some ambiance, because you're going to lose your listener if it's just you droning on for multiple episodes unless you have a really intriguing story. Then there's the panel, which is guests, multiple guests. This one's a little difficult to execute on a quality standpoint. It's hard enough to do a one-on-one interview to ensure quality, but a panel would be very difficult to make sure that everyone has similar sounding quality. But if your a topic lends itself to that, that certainly could be your format. The other is nonfiction narrative storytelling. So this is kind of similar to like serial, where you're telling a story from the news or whatever, in a way that, again, you're taking that deeper dive into it. So it's the nonfiction storytelling, and this could be a mix of, like I said, B-roll, sound clips from outside of just you talking and telling the story. It could be pieces of the story. Maybe there was a radio interview or a 911 call. That's often in some of the crime podcasts. Then there's fictional storytelling. So this one, really, to me, you've got to, if you do this one, and if it's a fictional story, it's really got to have that like ambiance and that imagination while you're telling the story, so that the listener can kind of really visualize themselves there. So think about when you're reading a book and the words are really descriptive about the scene that you're in. That's kind of what that format would require. Then hybrid's just a mix of multiple ones. So maybe have a one-on-one interview, maybe do a solo commentary. So you're mixing multiple formats. And then there's repurposed content, which is not one that I would expect. You might have some repurposed content, like I was talking about the 911 calls, but generally for the class, you probably wouldn't pick this as a format because it's something that you're creating from scratch new. So, understanding your audience. So obviously you're creating a podcast, but you don't want to just create a podcast in a silo, like just for you to listen to. You want to have an audience, and you want to be able to attract that audience and keep their attention. So when you think about your audience, you really need to understand what they care about and who are they? Who are you creating this for? What I like to do is really come up with like one person that like is my ultimate like avatar of an audience. And this person wakes up at this time in the morning, they drink coffee, they don't usually go to Starbucks, but they might have it once a week. So really like think about the habits of this person, and then talk about what do they like, what do they dislike around your topic, what's important to them, what do they want to know, what might they not know that you could actually add to their information bank related to this topic. And why should they care about your podcast? What makes your podcast different than any other information on this topic that they would want to know? Interviewing skills. So interviewing skills, I think that this especially on a podcast, what's great about it is obviously you can edit so that your interviews sound better, and you will be doing that, and you'll learn more about editing in some future weeks. But for interviewing, what you first need to do is do your research, right? So whoever you're interviewing with, know a little bit about them before you go into that interview, so that you can start to write those questions and prompts that really dig a little bit deeper into who they are. But stay curious. So even though you've done your research, you still want to make sure that you're curious about what they're saying, about who they are. Know enough, but not too much, so that you can still have those conversations that are really natural. So you're not asking things that you already know. Obviously, prep questions beforehand, but be an active listener. Sometimes we can over prepare for an interview, and then we're just really staying on script. Like for my lectures here, I have my notes. I don't have these scripted out because I want to be able to talk to you, and I want it when I'm interviewing. It's the same thing. I have my questions, but if someone says something interesting, I want to dig a little deeper. So you really want to be an active listener. Sometimes in interviews we get a little frozen, and this is my script. This is what I need to ask, and we don't dig deeper when something interesting comes up. So really be an active listener, be engaged in the conversation, and don't worry so much about did I hit all my questions, because you'll get a better interview if you actually are interested in what the person is saying. So those are the 3 topics this week. You're going to pick your genre and your format. You're going to pick your topic, obviously. You're going to define your audience, and you're going to record some audio, re-record. So all these things, genre, format, understanding your audience, interviewing skills. This is like your prep. You're really starting to lay the foundation for recording your first episode, and to really get an understanding of what does your podcast look like and who's it for. If you have any questions, as always, email me, reach out. All assignments are due on Sunday. Discussion board, check the due dates for that, because they vary. You'll do part of it by Thursday, part of it by Sunday. Have a great week.